More on the war crimes trial in The Hague of the former Liberian President Charles Taylor. I'm joined by Ayo Johnson, an analyst of African affairs based here in London. Ayo, it's perhaps easy for many to forget just how dreadful life was in Liberia and Sierra Leone back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And one of our correspondents reminds us of the number of people who had their arms cut off, severed during these dreadful wars. How is West Africa seeing this?
Well, they've got to see it like everybody else is. It was a horrific time. Families were... There's not a single Sierra Leonean that I would know who have not been touched by some of these atrocities that happen on the ground, be it a family member who died, be it a family member who's still alive without their limbs or their arms and bits and pieces of their body cut off. Again, large numbers of ladies were actually captured and used as sex slaves. We had young children who were abducted, and these kids themselves were drugged, and they caused large numbers of these actions that we've heard about.
But the point I'm getting to is how relevant is what's now happening in The Hague, the judicial process. How relevant is that to those who are still living with the impact of what they went through 10 years ago?
Well, we've had reconciliation, we've had rehabilitation of the soldiers. Now it's important that if individuals are identified as being part of what happened back then, that they should be brought to The Hague, and naturally so, Charles Taylor being seen to be doing so. A lot of people in Sierra Leone and in Liberia will be very, if at all, but only over time can we see that.
Last weekend, President Obama in Ghana did point a finger at several African leaders without naming them, saying much more has to be done about good governance. How many others, the leaders around Africa, West Africa, might be thinking, could I be next?
Well, clearly, we've seen The Hague quite in a buoyant mood lately. Charles Taylor finding himself there. We've had President Bashir of Sudan, who's indicted himself. We have numbers of African leaders who will be looking at themselves, looking within themselves and thinking, well, hang on, might I be next? So there's that concern. But it sends a clear message. They should break this and said, then naturally, if you do cause these sort of atrocities, you can be brought to justice. And there's a mechanism for doing so.
But finally, of course, we've just heard from a lawyer, it could be difficult proving that circumstantial evidence is enough to build the case against him. Absolutely.
Charles Taylor has surrounded himself with one of the best lawyers you could think about. He's got a very good, solid team around him. He himself is a very good speaker, and the evidence that we've seen thus far is not rock solid, and I'm afraid it's going to take time. Over time, we may be able to see whether he's found guilty or not.
The Africa analyst, Ayo Johnson, thanks for joining us here on World News Today.